A warm welcome and to a conference where we've slightly adapted the title. You've probably seen from the earlier drafts. It's Gender and Equalities, which actually reflects, I think, some of the themes that are going to be discussed a little bit more. I would normally invite Devaki to speak first, but she said you speak first, so that's why I'm doing it. This is a seminar backed by the Ford Foundation, and it follows another event that they backed that was held in Oxford last year, which was very, very successful. And out of that, there was a feeling that there should be at least one follow-up event, and maybe more. Who knows, if you've got the energy, Devaki. That workshop was an interdisciplinary workshop, and the most exciting thing that came out of that, I think, was the sort of conflict, positive intellectual academic conflict, of ideas as expressed between the different disciplines. It was my duty to try to put together a report, and for one reason or another I've been slow on it, but we do have the report. So I'm going to present Devaki with a copy. I did promise her one by now, and there are others here, but it's very much a preliminary draft. And we're working on it. We hope to do also a good report from this event. So that event was organised in partnership with Torch, which is the Humanities Centre based in Oxford, and we have Alexa, there she is, who's the head of that, a very excellent head. This one is organised with my organisation called the Europeum, which, for those of you who don't know, is a club of leading European universities. And what we do is we try to bring scholars together to discuss issues of concern and interest from across Europe and beyond. And we're delighted that we're able to do this event in partnership with Ford and inspired by Devaki. And I'm also delighted that here today, there's some wonderful folk sitting around the table, lots of expertise, lots of experience, practitioners, thinkers, activists with sort of lifetimes of experience, and younger folk who are beginning their careers. And I think it'll mean that we should have a very exciting 2 days, and we're going to draw on a similar range of disciplines: the law, politics, economics, sociology, anthropology, literature. And what we won't be doing is to be spending a lot of time introducing people, because we've given each of you a nice bio in the pack. So please look those up, and if you feel that you're not being given enough credit when you're being introduced, remember that we've all got a fuller bio of you. And of course, in those bios is Devaki Jain, who I'll introduce a bit later. Yes. Please take the bags. Thank you very much, Marek. So now the focus is on gender and inequality, and when we were thinking about this, what struck me when I was thinking about what kind of theme might emerge from the previous workshop, there was a lot of discussion about differentials in pay and reward. And funny enough, now that we have this, there's another report that's just come out, I think this week, which says that although many women are enjoying much higher incomes, the global differential remains huge. The figure quoted in the report was 58%. So that at current rates globally, it's estimated to take 217 years before there is a kind of parity. Okay? And what also struck me in the report was that were there to be some sort of parity, the transfer in salaries to women would total £85 billion. Enormous amount. Now, as we'll discover in this conference, it's not all about incomes and wages. But why it was important to me was that I live in Britain. We have laws. And we've been working on this issue, certainly out of the 70s movements, 80s and 90s, and yet there's still a problem. So what this conference is in part about is the kind of obstacles. What prevents us from moving forward? And that's the title, about going forward. It's the kind of rigidities, the frameworks, the cultural background, all the kind of sticky elements that prevents a society, even if it is committed publicly and legally to parity, to equality. Why is there so much stickiness? And obviously we're focusing on gender. There's many other inequalities to focus on, and they're not all disconnected, as I'm sure many of the papers will reveal. So even in the UK, women earn on average 80% of what men earn. And part of this is because they're placed in their stereotypical boxes with less expectation and less opportunities and less challenging and highly paid jobs. And those are the things that we need to think about and challenge. So this immediately throws up some of the central themes that I would like to sort of encourage us to discuss and to talk about inequality in the wider sense, not in the narrow sense of the wages is just a measure. And of course, we don't want to be what in the previous workshop we called resourcist. We're not just about balancing resources, because that's important, but it's not by any means the whole story. So we'll see that these issues, and I can see this, you can see this in some of the abstracts and some of the papers we're going to get, the issue is cut by a whole host of factors to do with age, to do with opportunity, to do with education, to do with class, to do with culture, to do with family, and as a political science I would say to do with power, as well as gender. And we'll try to explore, I think, what would be rich for us, because you're all experienced and have much discussed this issue. What would be rich for us is if we can go a little bit further in looking at the intersections and the complications of it. The key conclusion from the last workshop, this is a very preliminary report, was in a sense that what we need is a kind of wider notion of what we mean by equal opportunities, a kind of richer, deeper, wider sense. If we are going to build equality, we also need new language, I think. I don't think we've got the words. When doing this report and listening very carefully to wonderful scholars from literature, particularly from anthropology, from ecology, we didn't find the language. There is a limitation in the kind of very, very, very limited language that we've got. So what I think we're going to do is have papers on a range of issues, and we tried to cover a number of different sectors, to do with health, to do with education, to do with nurturing, and so on. And I hoped that we would be able to cover also a range of regions and different cultural experiences. And that was one of the reasons why I was very keen to involve Malala Yousafzai, who we made contact with, and she's now a student at Oxford, and I was hoping that she would be part of our conference. But in the end she couldn't make it. But it's interesting to note that when in some of the league tables, Muslim societies are very much dominant in the bottom, and in some tables they take 23 of the bottom 25 when you measure equality in a kind of comprehensive way. And in the first paper by Anthony Heath, we're going to discuss a little bit about how we measure, so that we can get a grip on that. But to give you one example from one report that I saw, that if Egypt was to close some of its equality gap, including wages, then it's estimated there could be a 34% increase in GDP. In other words, women are so excluded from all kinds of public, economic, social and political life. I don't want to talk much further, but I just wanted to sort of give you a feel of where I hope this workshop was coming on from, and where we want to go. So my main job, just to conclude, is to welcome you and to say that I'm delighted that you're all here, and that I hope you have a very enjoyable 2 days. And I always say that there are a number of aims. One of them, of course, is to exchange ideas. Secondly, I hope we'll all leave a little bit more better informed. I don't think we'll solve the problems, but we'll be wiser. And if we're still confused at a higher level. That's what we say. But finally, but there are two other important things. I hope we'll make new friends, and I hope we have some fun. Okay? I mean, it's not, you've given a weekend, and we're going to talk about serious things, but it's kind of very, very important. I think equality is an end in itself. I think it's a public duty. And I think it's about human dignity, about removing discrimination, about promoting harmony, about building solidarity. And I just think that we all must be committed to it. We must always renew our commitment to it. One gap I know is companies, because people say that actually company executives and boards are